Beyond the Wild.
Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. We've got a huge crowd today. We've got the crew from Focus Photography Tours, and you guys are familiar with some of them. But before we introduce them, the rest of the crew, Mark, how you been?
Great. It's spring. The days are getting longer. I know I've said this on a few podcasts, but the energy, you can just feel it. You know, the birds are back. We had a little trip down to South Carolina last week, and it was like summertime. We were spoiled there along the beach. And so this guy from the north goes down after being in the winter and bundled up and goes and walks on a beach with his T-shirt and flip-flops and shorts and gets cooked like a lobster, just like that.
Nice.
Yeah. Got all the winter's vitamin D in a few days. Caught up.
Excellent. You're back in the saddle. Jason, how about you?
I've been really good as well. Went down southern Utah with Kelly and ran around chasing some landscapes. Had a really good time. Just a quick 3-day weekend, but we made the most of it. Hit 6 different spots, and I got to learn some, techniques and scouting techniques and using some of the PhotoPills app a little bit more to kind of plan your shot and all that fun stuff. So it was fun. It's always fun to learn new stuff, and grateful to Kelly for letting me tag along with him to, do that. So
speaking of Kelly, he went and test drove a vehicle for me, and I'm grateful for that as well because he saved me a trip and $25,000.
Oh, it wasn't worth it, huh? That stinks that it didn't work out. But.
Yeah, it's okay. It is what it is. I just am pleased that he was close enough to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't care about the rest of the birds, but the meadowlarks are back. And that pretty much makes me alive. Once the meadowlark starts singing, you know things are going to be okay again. And we've got a few months of warm weather, but more importantly, when they show back up, that means the grouse are dancing, and been spending all my time, or as much of my time as I can, with them. And a friend of the actually several friends of the podcast, but Russ DeFusco, who's been on the podcast, is going to come up and see my spot.
Oh, very
I'm
cool.
going to blindfold him on the way in, but he's going to get to see the spot.
Make him sign a waiver.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got Scott Stone back on tonight, but more importantly, for the first time, his bride Jackie is joining us as well. Usually Jackie's in the background yelling at Scott, telling him not to forget things, but we get to put her on the spot tonight. So welcome, Scott and Jackie.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, as always. Looking forward to it.
We've got Dee Web, also with Focus. Welcome, Dee.
Excited to be here, guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so we had a meeting not too long ago, and Dee was on, but so I keep thinking that she's been on the podcast. She and Traci both have been on the podcast, but they haven't. We just did a meeting on the same software. So Traci, I should have checked on this ahead of time.
I was waiting for this.
Sepkovic?
Sepkovic.
Okay.
You were very close. Yeah.
I miss my...
I get every variety of that, so.
So welcome, Dee and Traci as well.
Thank you.
So guys, you've got some new things going on, but you also have got some, not necessarily new destinations to you, but some places that you've been that I'm curious about. Dee, we spent a lot of time talking to you on the meeting about Costa Rica. And I think I shared with you that's one of my number one desired destinations to go just because of the biodiversity down there. But tell us about Costa Rica and why, as a Canadian, you decided to spend half the year down there too.
Well, I spend the other half of the year around Waterton, and if you know Waterton at all, you know that it gets super windy and it's not a place you want to spend the winter. So it's a pretty easy decision to head to Costa Rica. As a photographer, it doesn't get any better. You have to make time in your day to put your camera down. There's always something to shoot. It's an amazing country. And people are great, very friendly, welcoming to Canadians. I don't know about you Americans anymore, but you know.
And there it starts.
And we're off.
Yeah. and fair enough.
That's why I have Canadian flag stickers on my bags.
That's a good idea.
So, Dee, just for the audience, they're probably going to hear the same thing that we heard during the meeting. Your accent is neither Canadian or Costa Rican. So you're going to have to fill everybody in on the background there.
I can't really decide where I want to live. So I grew up in Australia in the outback and getting chased by emus and riding around on motorbikes. And at 17, I made my way to Canada and decided I was a little restless. So now I live half time in Canada and half in Costa Rica.
Excellent. And Traci, how about you? Where do you hail out of?
Pennsylvania. Born here, still here. So,
and what part of the state are you in?
I'm in South Central now. So we moved to the central part of the state 26 years ago, shortly after I got married. And we thought we'd be here for, a year or two. My husband's job changed. And, 26 years later, we're still here. So
awesome. Ice Cube wrote a song about that.
Yeah.
How to survive in South Central. I think he was talking about a different South Central,
Pennsylvania.
Scott and Jackie. Scott, we've talked to you, but welcome back. Montana,
thank you guys, always.
Montana boy, and now spending more of the year in Alaska, or more time in Alaska.
Yeah, a steady 4 months every year for sure. May 15th, we kind of make the voyage and we get home the end of September with absolutely no gas left in the tank. So we give it everything we can and try to help as many people see everything that we all are blessed to know as one of the most beautiful places you're ever going to be. So
either Montana or
Alaska. We're spoiled. We just shot Sharpies last week, and it's within where we're at, our place, literally we can walk less than a half mile and you're right to where grizzly bears are in town. So we're as spoiled as it gets.
Jackie, is that true? Is he as spoiled as it gets?
Yeah, no, it's beautiful here. We live right with Glacier National Park in our backyard, so it's hard to beat that. Lake McDonald is like 15 minutes from where we are, so.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Jackie, first, you've dodged us a couple times now. So we need to get to know you. Where did you kind of grow up? And then I'll ask the most important question.
So I grew up in Wisconsin, actually, central Wisconsin, and that's where all my family still is. And then in 2009, I went up to Alaska to King Salmon for originally just to visit some friends, and then ended up at a bonfire with some people who worked at the airport, and they were hiring for the summer. And the lady who was in charge of hiring really took a liking to me, so she offered me a summer job at the airport in King Salmon, which, if you would have told me that was going to happen, it would be like, no way. But it was at a time in my life, my dad had just passed away from cancer. And I was really kind of looking for a direction and just said, why not? And that turned into being in Alaska full-time the past 15 years. And then last winter we started spending time in Montana. So yeah,
and
that was Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the question on everybody's mind: how did you two meet?
She stalked me.
We didn't ask Scott this question, by the way.
Uh, he stalked me, actually. But
That I
no,
believe.
we had a bunch of mutual friends on Facebook, which I think, social media is how all of us have met, which it's good in that aspect. But no, we had a bunch of mutual friends, and then after I moved out of King Salmon, I moved to the Kenai Peninsula and had been running a fly fishing company. So that's my other passion, is fly fishing. So a lot of environmental issues there, fisheries issues with Alaska, and the decline of king salmon is actually what our first conversations were about. So a lot of conservation issues that we share a lot of the same opinions on, and just went from there.
And you became Mr. Jackie Stone. Lucky guy.
Yeah, July 3rd, 2 years ago already.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, Jackie, can I ask you a question about your passion for fly fishing? Was that before you moved to Alaska? Did you already have that as a passion, or did that grow while you were up in Alaska?
So growing up, my family is very close, and so we would always go fishing. And my mom's sister, my aunt, she was really big into pushing women in the outdoors, and she teaches seminars for hunting, fishing. It's really important for her to get women involved in that kind of stuff. So I lived the closest to her, and just by default ended up always fishing with her. And it wasn't until I moved to Alaska that I started fly fishing, but I definitely took to it right away and just fell in love with it. It's like my kind of like what photography is for me now, but just it's my like zen, you get in the zone and you just forget about everything and all your problems, and it's my happy place for sure.
Very cool.
I can just quickly spin on that. I appreciate all of the backgrounds, and there's so many questions to delve into with that. But Alaska, so many people you hear go to experience it and stay. And all the times I've been there, I always leave a part of my heart in Alaska. The Kenai Peninsula is so beautiful, and it's just the whole rhythm there, right? I mean, that's something on our trips with people that we share that brings people down, just something being in the outdoors, and Alaska is kind of one of the pinnacles in North America of that experience. So totally get it.
And the passion for just being there full time. I think it's a great place to visit, but I always find myself not wanting to leave. And you have to come back to life down south, and I in a position now where I could make a change if that came about, and that's definitely something that I've thought about, but I just haven't done it yet. I got a little grandson now, so gotta stay close and make sure he gets outside.
Yeah, 100%.
So Traci, wildlife photography from South Central Pennsylvania. What sparked that interest?
Oh boy. I mean, I grew up on spending a lot of time on the family farm back in Western PA. So we were outside all the time, riding bikes and just always exploring somewhere in the woods. And grew up, my dad always watched the PBS wildlife specials. So we always watched wildlife on PBS. And then I think the first thing were the birds. I was always had my eyes on the birds, my bird feeders outside of my house. I loved how the chickadees, if my bird feeders were empty, they were always squawking at me from the front porch. Started with a camera photographing my kids' sports. But as I was photographing my kids on the soccer field or track or whatever they were doing, there'd be a raptor in the sky that had my attention, so I'd always be kind of drifting in my attention. So it just kind of grew from there. I would photograph the birds from my front porch, and then that just grew into checking out the elk in the northern part of our state. And I absolutely love elk rut season. That's something I do with my dad that we love getting out for it. It doesn't matter. My dad will even say to me, "Did you hear that?" I'm like, yeah, I heard it. The bugle coming out from the valley. And he just bought a camera this year. So my dad's 78 and he just bought a camera, and he said this year, whenever we go out for elk rut, he's going to photograph the elk with me this time. So
awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Okay. I think you are the first guest. You guys, Mark and Jason, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're the first guest. We've had a lot that have said that their kids now enjoy the passion of wildlife photography, but I think you're the first one that's put that on their parents.
Yeah.
So congratulations, and I hope your dad has a blast.
Yeah. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. And I have my daughter. She shoots with me now too. So that's been something that, my son is definitely an outdoorsman. He's always hiking, exploring, and in the woods, testing himself and, doing different things. My daughter grabbed onto the camera thing with me. At first, I think it was more of an opportunity for her to, oh, mom's gone to the beach to photograph shorebirds. No, it was mom's going to the beach. So she would tag along with me. But now she's like, she wants to get out with it. Like she wants to go out. She wants to see owls. She wants to go up and photograph elk with me. So what started off as just like a little road trip fun thing for her, I think the photography bug has kind of, it got her somewhere along the way. I'm not sure where, but it got her.
Awesome. Dee, what about you? Okay, let me ask it this way. I can see the draw in Waterton. It's a beautiful country. The Canadian Rockies are an unbelievable place to spend time, probably as close to the views in Alaska as you could get. But what took you to Costa Rica? And what has kept you there, I should say?
Well, my husband's been going for a long time, probably close to 30 years. He's also a fly fisherman. We both fly fish, and we go down to fly fish for billfish in Costa Rica. It's one of the best places in the world for that, and they definitely have some of the best ethics in the world with catch and release, and that aligns with our beliefs very strongly. So we started going, and a week wasn't enough, and then 10 days wasn't enough, and we became empty nesters, and my husband had been quite sick, so I threw my hands in the air and said, I don't want this big house. Let's sell all this stuff, make a different life. And that's what we did. So he really struggles with mental health in winter in Canada. So that was a big part of the decision. He does a lot better in Costa Rica. And it's a beautiful place to live. It's hard to leave. So
it's a little bit like Alaska, I would suppose. Mark, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I could see that making sense. I feel that, especially the older we get, in as with empty nest as well, kind of thing. The winters, you do notice them, right? I enjoy elements of winter, the snow, and photographing all kinds of things, and hiking and in winter. But it is long, right? So if those lottery tumblers came into place, it would be like Alaska and New Zealand, or I haven't had Costa Rica experience, so that makes sense. I think we're probably healthier for it, right? Again, love winter for so many reasons, but by the end of it, it's just so dry, and so the light comes back, and it's like,
yeah,
get it, yeah. I think it's smart if you can,
Yeah,
pop as many vitamin D vitamins all winter long.
There was a lot of sacrifice that went along with making the decision. People always say that I'm so lucky. I like to say it's a life of intention. We set an intention and we made it happen. there was not a lot of luck that went along with it, I'm afraid.
Sure. Yeah, with purpose, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I love hearing that, because we're all audience, everybody listening, we have this life, right? And I mean, intention and focus and drive to try to accomplish things is, you got to go for it. So, yeah.
Yeah, you get one life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to what Jackie was talking about, were you an outdoors woman before you and your husband met? Or did that relationship get built on spending time outside?
Well, I grew up very different in Australia. We definitely grew up where there was no people. I didn't have TV. I was blessed to have parents that were bush people, if that's what you want to call them. My dad was very much an outdoorsman. My mom was a tough lady, and we had things in the house all the time, like baby kangaroos hanging off in toques off doorknobs and raising baby birds. That's where it came from. I didn't know any other way. And when I came to Canada on a student exchange, I got to a ranch that was just outside of Waterton, and they couldn't believe that a girl could gut a fish or, do the things that boys did. And that's what I preferred to do. So that was the common strand for my husband and I. He thought that was pretty cool that a girl wanted to fly fish, and come on then, let's go. So it was always in me. I don't remember a time when it wasn't. That's, as a kid, I was the kid counting ants and finding the weird creatures and seeing where they went and what was in the hole. And I don't know how I lived through my childhood. I really don't.
Yeah. It can put me on that list as well. I'm not sure how I've lived through adulthood.
I have a baby granddaughter now too, and watching, my job for 27 years was raising other people's kids. I ran a home-based daycare, and I can't believe watching all these kids now that I lived through my childhood in Australia, where everything wants to kill you. My mom wouldn't let us back in the house. Once we were out, we couldn't come back in. So we got into all kinds of trouble.
So where did you pick up a camera, or when, I guess I should say?
So about the time my husband got sick, he loved to video fly fishing, make fly fishing videos, and he was getting quite into that. And I picked up his gear, and it became part of my escape. I didn't know what was happening at the time. It just became part of what made me happy to get out and have that minute to myself. And then that natural affinity to love wildlife just came together. I think I already had good instincts about waiting and watching and what to look for and animal behavior, that kind of stuff. I was always quite an artsy person. I was always a person that could pick up and draw or paint or do whatever it was that I put my mind to. I'm quite obsessive. So once I started photography, I went down a very deep hole very quickly. And that's how it all came about.
I think we can.
That's often the way it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
When people get it, get serious about photography or wildlife, and there's so many genres of it, whether it's birds or mammals or macro or landscapes, but it's that collection at heart and improvement. But I think fundamentally the experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the moment.
Yeah, it's really not about, once you get into it, it's not about getting that sharp picture or the perfect picture. It's about that interaction that you get, or that day you had out with your friend, or, that moment you had with that animal, or just the peace that you got from, being out there and doing what you love. So who cares about the picture in the end?
I just did a post today on Instagram, and you start thinking back and chronologically the people that I met as a result of wildlife photography and where I was at the time and where things are now. It's a completely different life, and the friendships that are created. Met Mark in 2018, met Jason shortly, or actually 2017, Mark, wasn't it?
I think so.
First year that we went to Colorado together. And then met Jason shortly thereafter, a couple years after. I think in 18, actually, I met Scott. I didn't know I met Scott yet, but we were in Denali together.
Denali, yeah.
And then just missed each other several times in Montana for the elk rut, or different places. And then to meet you guys, I think the network of people that's created in wildlife photography is unique, in that you have a lot of like-minded people. Everybody comes at it from their own unique and perspective and angle, but you have a lot of like-minded people out there, and I think that's what keeps us all going and kind of draws us together.
You know what? If I can expand on that just for a minute, it's actually, I love that you brought that up, because I've been thinking about it a lot lately. And I mean, all of us on this call, I'm sure some of us have some different beliefs politically. I'm sure some of us have some different beliefs about a lot of different aspects of life. But this photography thing and our care and passion for conservation and the animals and the outdoors is so strong that none of that really matters at the end of the day. You know, we all respect each other, and we, and those friendships remain because of that passion. So I don't know. I've been stewing on that a lot lately, and Ron's post made me think about that again today too. So
Always. Yeah. It's all, and there's so many at this time. I mean, I don't even currently ask people where they are politically. I mean, I'd rather talk about wildlife, but it reflects back on, we've grew up in different towns. We got different favorite sports teams. We got different religions, but the common space that we all have for the love of wild planet Earth is enough. Right. But I also, not on this podcast, I don't go there, but I think it would be nice if there was room for open conversation on any subject that opinions differed without it threatening a friendship or love of one another. It doesn't need to, right? Everybody has different feeds of information and different histories of what it might be, but we can all learn and educate one another through conversation and compassion. The most important thing, in my opinion, none of that would ever change my friendship for people that I love. It's we're not all the same, and we don't have to be.
It's
beautiful that we're not
the same.
We can,
right?
Yeah.
It would be so boring. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. We can all get along that way. But
I think we can all agree on this point. If everybody was like me, it would be anything but boring.
That's a fact. Kind of back to that, how you've made it through adulthood.
Exactly. What a wonderful world that would be. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's a good point, Traci. That the difference is what makes us all unique, but going back to the theme of the conversation, wildlife and the love of wildlife and wild places, more importantly, is a good common place to be, and that's something that you guys have all capitalized on. But before we move into that, Jackie, when did you pick up a camera? So you moved to Alaska, worked in the airport, got the job in the airport, and took up fly fishing. But when did you pick up a camera and start going that route?
So I have to think like years. Probably in like 2016, around the time that my business partner and I started the fly fishing company. We had bought like a nicer camera for the company just to take pictures of clients and for marketing purposes. But I would take it and use it to try to get like the Northern Lights, which, are amazing and some of my favorite things to take pictures of. But it was just, like a cheap consumer grade camera. And then when Scott and I got together, he encouraged me, of course, to get a nicer camera, and I did. But when I initially, like, I'm a perfectionist, and I'm like naturally just, if I'm not good at something right away, I just don't do it. So I, expected to pick up a camera and be like, take amazing pictures right off the bat, and that didn't happen. So I, the first time we went to Iceland, I brought it with and, was trying to take pictures, and my pictures did not look like Scott's pictures, which frustrated me to no end. And I just, set it aside for months. And it wasn't until we were getting ready to go to Churchill, actually in November 2 years ago, that I really got serious about it and said, okay, I'm going to learn how to shoot this thing. And then once I picked it up again, it was just like it clicked, and everything one day just made sense, and the triangle and, all these things that I was like, why was this so hard? And I think I just had put so much pressure on myself to be good at it right away that I just didn't give myself a chance to, fail until I succeeded. So, after that, I just, like, I have terabytes of pictures now that I still need to go through, because I love, being out and taking pictures, and it's special that, Scott and I get to do that together. So
awesome.
If you guys know anybody that wants to edit for her, let us know.
That's the part that puts you in the chair. It's no fun.
There's 2 years worth of probably some real damn good work, and I don't know that she's downloaded more than like 0.1%. So
I'll get there someday.
You could probably find some kid on Fiverr that would jump through a bunch of them.
Well, it speaks to the experience, right? If that just is proof that it's about the experience. The fact that you don't have to edit them all or get to it. And maybe someday you will, maybe not. Maybe they're there though. The memories are there.
Yeah.
The memories and the images or videos. Yeah, that's quite a few friends that shoot that aren't professionals but are very good, and not all of them edit all their stuff. It's like when the mood moves them to do it, they do some, but cool. Speaks volumes.
It's fun going back to those files too. Like maybe you don't, a year or two down the road, you pull a drive and you start sorting through and you're like, oh man, that was awesome. Reliving those moments, you feel it all over again. Maybe you get excited to revisit a place you haven't been to. But yeah, that's what's so awesome about it. You can pull those drives out a year, 2, 3 years later, go back through the memories and the moments that you had, and see how you can improve upon it, or see maybe you weren't as bad as you thought you were.
Yeah, and
treasures.
Yeah, you go find those hidden nuggets, and I've had published images that from 2014, and now all of a sudden we've got these new tools in Lightroom, so you go back and re-edit, and all of a sudden that image that was okay but not great is now on the cover of a magazine. So it is fun to go back. Plus, we talked about this several times, the memories that kind of get rekindled when you go back through those images, and it's kind of like reliving those moments again. And sometimes you just laugh when you think about something. Mark and I were photographing Dull Sheep, and just the memories and the laughs that we had on that trip. And Mark had been up there before. It was my first time climbing up that mountain. And so when we got up to where we were going to kind of choose a sheep, he was like, just go. You go ahead, get some shots, and then we'll all come behind you. And that was, one of those times when it was like, who does that? And it was fun, and it was a good memory for Mark and I. he had to pull me out between two rocks, and actually he had to hold my camera while I got myself out from between two rocks, and just have some good laughs and make some good memories. But you look back on those, and it's more than just the wildlife that comes back. It's all those it's the little moments, the little things in between those moments, and that's what I think, photograph. I'd like to spend as much time as I can by myself. But photographing with friends or clients, you always have those things that come back when you see those images. So yeah, can't wait, Jackie, till you get back through those, and then all the new old stories come back. So education, Scott, we've talked to you about photography, but what inspired you to start educating people and taking people into the field, teaching them about wildlife behavior and that kind of thing?
So it can be tied to a couple things. When I got to Kodiak in 2015, December 2015, it's a ways from home, and you want to share that with your family, and it's going to be more than iPhone stuff. And that first summer, I got to watch our friend Jennifer Fogel and a bunch of the really, really good Kodiak people and photographers there, and they just love their bears. And it's an interesting island because there's hunting and conservation to keep that population high, and not everybody is as passionate as we are, but when you find your group, it makes it easy. So those guys definitely got me started and got me interested in it. And I started shooting, like I said before, February 2017. But what it kind of boils down to is, like you said, my dad always took me out. Didn't matter what happened. Dad lost his dad young, and it was always about going out. Like when we went hunting, we didn't care if we ever got anything. It was about watching mule deer all fall long and hoping we never filled a tag. That was what it was about. So that study of animals from a really young age, and then even in my 30s around Montana, you realize like there's like nobody going out watching these critters, and it's like I can't be the only one, but there aren't a ton of wildlife photographers here in Montana yet. And our good buddy Craig Miller, right, and several other people, Rod Select, and a few of these guys, where Jackie and I can go anywhere around the state within 10 hours, and we're only going to see those two guys. You know what I mean? Other than when freeze out's really, really going, there's not very many people in Montana that do it outside of the parks. And we're so blessed with sheep and mule deer and whitetail and bears and everything else. It's crazy. But one of the ones that really I draw from, though, is we had a neighbor at the farm who had COPD badly, and he really struggled the last 7 years of his life. And this goes back to like 2013, 2014. I'd post some stuff off my phone, and I got a phone scope, and that was cool, but it wasn't, you can't print it, right? But he told me before he passed away, he said, like, you're my eyes. Like, that's it. Like, you're my eyes. I don't get to know what's going on outside the house. And that always stuck with me, because there's a lot of people that, all of us, health, being able to do these things is a blessing in itself. And when you realize that a lifetime of experience like leads up to where you're really passionate about wanting to share this with people, and whether it's Katmai, Kodiak, Nome, Iceland, Costa Rica, wherever, any one of us, whether it's Jackie and I or Traci or Dee or anybody that's part of our team, you guys included, there's no better feeling than being able to see somebody else experience something for the first time. Whether you get to see your first eyelash pit viper and go, man, that little bugger is awesome, or whether it's brown bears or grizzly bears or black bears and cubs in Yellowstone, it doesn't matter what the animal is, right? I mean, the moments they give us and being able to share that with somebody is worth more than any dollar in the world. When we get to take people and teach them and show them the behavior of bears and get to watch them number one, get off the plane. Some of them, their first time, might be their only trip to Alaska. And whether they're terrified, fearful, or rolled the dice and want to take a chance, when you get to take somebody that's never got to do something like that, and they get to feed off the fact that this is everyday life for you, and they're full of nerves, and we're as relaxed as anywhere we're ever going to be on Earth, and they get to kind of feel that balance by the end of day two. They go from somebody that's super terrified of bears to wanting to learn more, and you just get to watch them feed off of that. And if you ask, I talk about this all the time, if you ask Jackie and I to put our cameras down right now, and we never got to shoot again the rest of our life, but we got to watch everybody else experience it and see their reaction and see their joy, I'd give you my camera right now.
I'm going to give you that opportunity in August.
No. I have a beat up old R5. You don't want mine. My wife has all the new stuff.
Gotcha. Dee, what about you? Were you a natural educator, or is that something that you kind of developed over time?
Well, my real job before I took my passion job was to run a daycare in my house. Mm-hmm. So, I think it came very naturally to me from a very young age to be an educator. But I assumed, we talked about this earlier this week, actually, I assumed that everybody knew what I know about wildlife. And it was really strange to me to start, when I started guiding even, that people didn't know that. And it wasn't out of a judgment. I just assumed that everybody knew. Mm-hmm. But I feel the same as everybody else here, that it is fills my soul to watch people get that experience. When women get out of a vehicle and tell me, I'm never going to get the shot, I'm never going to get the shot, don't worry about me, worry about my husband, and I'm never going to get a shot of a hummingbird, or and they get the shot, and the look on their face and the fact that they can do it, or you get them, out in nature and doing things that they never ever expected that they could do, doing hard things, doing getting amazing pictures. And yeah, it comes easily because it feels so good. I don't know how else to put it. And now I have a baby granddaughter, and I really feel the passion to get these kids that are on screens and seeing things that way, that we need to get them in contact with what they're going to lose if they don't fall in love with it.
Yeah, that's every time. So go speak about the children's book that we did, and every time I go speak, that's it. The separation between us and the natural world, I think, is one of the biggest problems that we have. I mean, we all talked about the fact that wildlife and nature can bring us together, right? No matter what our outside differences are. But that separation from the natural world, I think, allows us to dwell on those other issues. And if we just focus on what's around us and what you said about being surprised about what people know, I'm not surprised anymore, just because people weren't lucky enough to have a parent that locked them outside.
Yeah,
I think that is that's something that should be done by everyone. But we were in a place where it was safe to do so, and maybe not necessarily safe, but we lived,
survived it.
Yeah, no.
But did you die?
I feel that. But did you die?
Ran around with no shoes, drank out of the water hose. Yeah. Here we are. We're fine.
Right. No helmet.
Nope.
Sorry, I thought it was all on silent.
It wasn't. That's okay.
Now for part 2 of the podcast.
The one person that can ring through rang through. Sorry, guys.
It's all right. Mark does it all the time. No, just kidding.
Now you have me paranoid about mine.
Oh my God. Go away. I'm on a podcast, Andy. Okay, bye. Sorry.
It's all good.
JG, up to you, but you can leave that in there. We've never had an answered phone call on the podcast. Traci, how about you? I mean, I know when we talked, your job is not in the wild.
No, my heart is.
Your heart is, but the job.
My heart always is.
The job isn't,
Yeah.
and I get that.
Yeah.
To a T.
It's a necessary evil.
Mm-hmm. But the education piece, when did that come into play?
I'm a bit of a mommy bird, I think. I like to help people. I like to make sure they're taken care of. I like Dee said, I kind of took it for granted that people know, just little things, even from when you go out onto the field, you're photographing something, just how to walk about, how to move about quietly, not slamming doors, being quiet, things like that. But I love helping people maybe get a shot that they didn't think they could get. I love helping challenge people. Let's challenge ourselves. Let's not become complacent because we got this subject in focus. Let's try something different if we have the opportunity. Let's, slow the shutter. Let's change our perspective. Let's maybe use some foliage or something in the foreground to get a different look. I love fog. A lot of people find fog challenging. Let's work on that. Things like that. I really enjoy helping people. Not just maybe beginners learning their cameras, but also helping them kind of go to the next level with their camera, challenging them to just not be comfortable, try something different. So I find that rewarding.
And all of that, Jackie, you said you kind of grew up in that atmosphere, women in the outdoors with your mom teaching and that kind of thing. Is that what inspired you to do the same thing with the fly fishing company? Or was that just something that transitioned a passion into a business?
Well, that was a big part of it, definitely. And, through that business, I was part of a lot of women's organizations that focused on getting women involved in, fly fishing. And a lot of women are more comfortable with a female guide. I don't know, they think they'll look stupid in front of a guy or something, but it comes from a sense of like understanding, I think, and puts them at ease a little bit. But yeah, like carrying that over into photography now has been really awesome to see too. And we actually, this past August, got to do some trips with Traci and some women's groups, and just being able to see those ladies who had never been on a float plane and we had all these Zoom calls going into it, and they were terrified of what was going to happen. They wanted to know like how many steps they had to go up to get in the plane, and like one lady said she was terrified of bears, and we're like, well, you're going to have one like right in your face. And then just all their fears, like as soon as they got there, they just were so awesome and just put it aside and just convinced themselves that they could do it. And I mean, by the time we got picked up, they're crawling on the floats to get back in the plane, and we're just, it was so amazing to see, and really, I think some of the most rewarding trips we've ever done, just seeing all the doubts and all the fears. And then by the end of it, they were like, ready to go every day.
There's a lot of growth and development on those, I think. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I mean, that's, why you do it, why your why is just to provide this experience for people that they're never gonna, maybe never have again in their lives, and just give them the confidence to, leave better than they were. And not even like better, but just, I don't even know the right word for it, just more capable, more strong, resilient, just all these things that, make them better people in the end.
So, what inspired you to kind of put a group of like minded people together? I mean, we started the show with that conversation, the like mindedness and love of the outdoors. Where did the passion come from or the inspiration come from to bring those people together and focus?
Who wants this one?
I think we clicked. I think we all just kind of clicked, when you find your people, it just kind of comes naturally and falls into place. We all have the same interests. We all had the same passion and goals, connecting people with wildlife, giving back, doing better. And yeah, I'll let you guys now jump in, but that's
I think the giving back and doing better, we'd seen a lot of other operators doing it and doing it well, but we thought that there was space to do it even better. That was a common thread between us as we came together, and even the broader spectrum of focus of the rest of the team. That seems to be a common thread for all of us, that we thought that there was a way to do this just a little bit better. That conservation and the experience of the photographer was what needed to come first. And not that the shot was the most important thing, that being there, having that experience, educating the people in that moment, that there was a much better way and a need. Once people start in photography and they can get that sharp shot, they want more. And this is the more. The experience is the more.
So for the crowd, Scott, explain what focus is.
Focus is a group. The four of us obviously are the core, but from a business standpoint, we all check all the boxes and support each other, which is huge. But everything with focus is designed to make your trip easier so that you enjoy your time out in the field better. The travel manager, we have talked before a little bit about when you book with us, your intake information goes through Travify into an app. So every single focus trip we have, doesn't matter where you go in the world, Svalbard, Japan, Mongolia, Alaska, wherever, it all goes to an app. So instead of trying to keep track of emails for your group texts and your flights and all of that, it's all right there. So ease of travel was one, but the main thing is that we want to offer a group of people. We can't do it all. There's no way. The world's way too big, right? So we're going to surround ourselves with the people that we really think strive to inspire others, that don't just talk about giving back, but are actually actively doing it. And that's another big one in it right there, right? There's lots of ways to donate to conservation, but there's a difference between donating and actually being active and helping. And again, back to the educating and the teaching, whether it's working with any one of multitudes of organizations. I mean, we all know really good conservation groups, but can we take two and link them and maybe make some things happen, right? But the big thing, we talked about this before, right? I don't know anything about an elephant, but we want to offer tours for our clients in Africa. We're going to use the best people we can find. And the behind the scenes before we offer any of our trips are multiple hours of conversation with these operators to make sure that everything is in play to give everybody we send the best experience they can. We talked about it before, where the experience is so important to us that even if we have cancellation spots at the end prior to a trip, if we can break even if that means we're going short, we still want those people to go have it. We're not going to cancel trips and make those other people miss their trip. We're going to do everything we can to make sure everybody gets there. But that's the collective mindset, right? Is we want we want to be able to offer tours with a good footprint and make sure that we've got the people to do it, and we're doing as much work as we can to make sure that everybody's in the best hands they can be in. So conservation, education, giving back in lots of different ways. We're enrolled in 1% for the Planet on both bear viewing and the focus side. So that's always getting donated no matter what, right? But it's about the donating to local things, right? One of the things that people had asked us to include was it'd be nice if the tips were built in your trips so that we don't have to worry about that. Because that's kind of an awkward stage for any one of us to travel. You're going to have some people that, hey, did we tip those guys or not? And we don't want to have any of that. So we just take care of it. It's built in, it's done, and we're trying to offer a broad range of trips for everybody. So, and when I say that, we're going to have Milky Way and Astro tours that are less than $1,200. We are COA permitted in Grand Teton, Glacier, Yellowstone. We're working on a bunch of other parks, but take like our Glacier fall trip, for instance. Somebody that's never seen the yellow larch in October in Montana is missing out, and under $1,200. Our long trip, the 4-day one's only $14. So we offer anything from down at that level. That's a weekend trip where $1,400 in a plane ticket, under $2,000, you can come see something you haven't seen them. Probably see a black bear and a grizzly bear, and have an experience and not be in those upper price ranges where we know we're going to have a mix of clientele, but we offer a little bit of everything. So all the way from literally $900 all the way on up to 3-week, 4-week full developed trips in Australia, New Zealand, lots of 2-week stuff, but lots of different price ranges. And again, the goal is to keep our profit margin down, but still be able to donate and pass that difference on to people so that a polar bear trip doesn't cost $12,000 when it might only be $8,000. You know what I mean? So that's our thought. Value, and as much as we can put into a trip. Our Sitka whale trip is not just whales, right? I mean, there's bald eagles and all sorts of other sea life, and the possibility for northern lights. And any guide we work with, we don't want anybody to sleep, right? We want to have fun. That's a joke. We do want everybody to rest, but you're spending good hard-earned money to go to these places and get the best out of them you can. And that's exactly what we want to do as a team.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, because I think Jason went on a trip with you and all he did was sleep.
He did. He said he had COVID or something. I don't know.
What a crybaby.
Yeah. Yeah, had I not seen with my own eyes him get it and fail miserably in a day, and I don't mean miserably as a joke. Jason was the Jason we all know at 8 a.m, and by 1 p.m, I'm like, dude, you have COVID and we need to get you out of here. He was definitely hurting. So I felt bad, and he was a great tenant. I mean, he stayed those however many days it was, and I didn't even know he was there.
He said that's because you locked him in a room in the basement.
I did. Yeah. I did. I'd take him like 6 Gatorades every 2 days, and as long as they were empty, I knew he was still doing okay.
It was weird when I left, and there was like all this plastic curtains and stuff as I left. It was like, this wasn't here before. Hazmat signs and stuff. No,
yep.
I'm kidding, but
they sold the apartment as soon as he left.
No, there are lots of tour operators, and we talk about this often, and some of them are better than others. Don't recommend that anybody ever go with anyone. And I had a guy that was out here photographing grouse, Kurt Hummel, and my suggestion to everyone is never go with anyone who's going somewhere to a location for the first time. Obviously, they don't, first of all, know the animals, the behavior, what they should look for, the shots that they want, that kind of thing. But also, you're going to pay for their way to get there. And that's not, to me, that's not a good reason to be leading tours.
No.
But he said, he went to Africa, and he said they spent the whole 10 days having to shoot around the guide or the group leader because he was going on his last trip. So don't ever go with anyone for their first trip or their last trip, because put himself in the best spot on the truck the entire time, and put himself in the best spot for the shot the entire time, and his entire group had to shoot around him. And so I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that changed that piece of advice for me. And there's lots of people that do it. There's few that do it well. And I think, the education piece, which is why I kind of wanted to get each of your takes on that. The education piece is huge. That's why people are going. They're going to have the experience and to learn something. So you kind of have to be a teacher.
To add on to that real quick, one of the things, Ron, that we had talked about early on when we first started talking about forming the company is another piece of education that all of us have forgot to mention too, is that education comes from reaching out to the best people we possibly can in the areas we're going or have been. Katmai, we've spent hours talking to the wolf biologist from Oregon State that's heading up the coastal wolf study for Alaska. So a lot of the information that we have and that we know, it's public information, but it's taken the time to get it. But that's one of the big things for Focus is every time we can do it for any groups, doesn't matter where we go, if we can have a biologist, a Park Service member, somebody from the refuge take time to talk a little bit about the place and the animals, or if it's something specific, whether it's endangered critters, right? I mean, if it's grouse or red wolves or whatever, if we can help people learn about what we're shooting, not just shooting the object, people, and I know Traci would attest to that. One of the things last year with our Kodiak and Katmai groups is they left saying that the information is just as much a value as what they're getting photography wise, because any one of us, if we go somewhere we want to learn something new, right? I mean, if we go with Mark, I want to have that guy tell us everything he knows about all of his experiences and where he's been, or Ron or Jason, it doesn't matter. And there's a lot to that, and everybody's got, like we talk, right? I mean, the beauty is we all see it a little bit different. So that education piece, that's huge to us.
They could become ambassadors for those species after the experience, right? I mean, they learn to love where they are, and the education part gives them the tools to go forward. And when they show their pictures to family and friends, that passion comes through with information for that broader audience. It's wonderful networking.
Dee, go ahead.
Yeah, just one more piece of that education puzzle that we haven't talked about is a place for new photographers. So we hear a lot of stories about new photographers wanting to go, but they have imposter syndrome, or they don't have enough gear, they don't know what they're doing. We wanted to make a space that was especially welcoming to them, because we all started somewhere. We know it's nerve-wracking to stand next to somebody that you think is a big deal. They have a big lens and a big camera, and you don't feel like you know what you're doing. So we wanted to make sure that those people were absolutely taken care of and included in what we were doing. And I think we've done a really good job at offering some tours just for them to come and work with us and learn and grow. But that's a part of all of our tours, that we want new photographers to feel comfortable. You don't need to be a professional photographer to travel with us. So
we each year we have more guests showing up with just smartphones, but having a great time, right? Yeah. So it's whatever camera you've got and want to live the experience. But then it's all age categories too. Young people starting out wanting the experience, to people that are older that want to have that before they're unable to. Yeah. It's amazing to share all that. That's cool. You guys have thought a lot through this, clearly.
I had a new photographer show up in Costa Rica this year. He was 80. His wife just bought him a Canon R5. And I made him cry. He got the shot of a monkey with a baby, and he teared up, and it made my year. So it starts at all ages. It really does. Yeah.
There's your challenge, Traci, with your dad.
I can't wait. I mean, my dad was a photographer. When he was in the Air Force, he was in Germany, and that was a hobby that him and my mom had, and they were Nikon shooters, so they somehow made a Canon shooter. But I remember always being the photography stuff. They had the dark room, and they did their own developing and things like that. So it's kind of cool that my dad instilled that love for the natural world in me. And my dad's been an outdoorsman his whole life, hunting, fishing, all those things. And we've, you kind of aren't talking as much because you're growing up and in college and starting your lives. And, it's just occasional, but then you kind of come full circle to where you meet back up again. You're back to talking about nature, and you're talking about elk rut, and you're talking about white-tailed deer, and you're talking about black bears. And when can we meet up and go to camp again? When can we get together and go to camp again? And now he's back with the camera. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I told him to stop looking at buying stuff, though. He keeps sending me all these links. What about this? What about this? What about this? I said, Dad, what did you do with it? Did you go out and shoot? No. Get off the internet. Go outside. Stop shopping. Just go start shooting, and then we'll figure out what else you need. So, yeah.
I like
Good times.
it. Mark.
Oh, I was just going to say, see, it's another proof and point. I mean, it's fun. I want all my best friends to cheer for different hockey teams. And I like the fact that not everybody shoots Nikon or Canon or Sony. And we can have those jokes back and forth. And yeah. So which is he now? If he was Nikon, and now he's Canon. Is he Canon?
He's absolutely Canon now.
Yeah. Shout out to a sponsor.
I've never looked at a good image and said, oh, that was a Nikon shooter. Or, oh, that was you just.
Oh, I have. It's
ergonomics. It has to be comfortable. To me, it's all about ergonomics. So
yeah, they're all so good.
But now I can actually help him because he has a Canon. So.
Excellent.
Well, thank you guys very much. And before we close it, where can people learn about Focus and the trips that you have available? Jackie, are you the logistics person?
Well, Dee is actually
Dee's the
our
logistics
admin
person.
for Focus and for the bear camps now too. So
oh, nice.
Yeah, and she's amazing at it. So I just do the website, but
Jackie has the answer for this question because she's our website.
Yes. So the website is focusphototours.com or Focus Photo Tours on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay. Scott, you were going to say something.
No?
So, okay.
He's been really quiet.
I know. It's weird.
Ron threatened me.
Is Jackie pinching him?
It's going to be fun to see where you guys go with this. And I can't let this podcast come to an end without bringing up the fact that the last couple of years, your giveaway trip and the big heart of that, for your bear camp and what that means to people and what it's brought people together to hear the rallying call and all the feedback on the socials when it's happening saying, I hope that somebody like this wins or it's just, it's wonderful to see it happening. And, I know my brothers here feel the same way to include us in that giveaway has meant a lot to us too. We appreciate being part of it as far as your promotions go. And from what I've seen from Jason's time with you, with the Fishing Bears, it's what an experience. And I think both guys are going this summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yes, we are.
But,
can't wait.
Jackie, we've been able to thank Scott on the podcast before, but thank you as well. It's huge.
Oh, you're welcome.
And
we
love there. Big shout out.
Love doing it. Yeah. and it brought us, Kelton last year, which now he's also one of our tour leaders for Focus too. So in addition to helping us at Bear Camp this summer, he's going to be doing some of the Utah Astro trips. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
And couldn't have had a nicer guide this year, when it, Derek.
Seriously, really
guy.
blessed. And thank you, Mark. Seriously, it's an honor to do this together. It really is.
It was all your doing. So it's just wonderful to see in the community, is why I wanted to make sure it was covered once again, since we have you on here, and I've enjoyed having you on the times that we have. And it's great to have your team on and get to know everybody a little more, and to see the smiles as you talk. Your expressions relay the authenticity of your feelings of how this is going, and your excitement behind it. So it's, hope to see all of you at some point in the field.
Likewise again.
Thank you.
I like that.
Ron's giving the signal.
Peace. There it was. I thought.
Listening to today's podcast, Beyond the Wild, and our growing network of friends. It's wonderful to have you along. And you can find out more information on beyondthewildpodcast.com. Watch along on YouTube to see all the expressions and the fun and the antics in video. And shout out to our producer, JG, for him putting in last week's episode with Ron talking about the Grouselex. The videos were great. I loved watching it. It's one thing to record it, but then while I'm editing, I have a screen going with the YouTube and see what Ron collected. Top notch, man. Good stuff. Someday I want to get back there with you. I want the ghillie suit reserved.
Come on.
Embrace spring, have fun outdoors, and take care. See you next week. And that's a wrap for another episode of Beyond the Wild Podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Pictureline.com, your online source for everything photography, and Canon USA.